I've had the pleasure, as have you, closer than me, of working with some exceptional executives and founders in the business, John Malone. And I asked John about the quality that best describes Barry Diller uniquely. And he said that Barry is intuitive in the way he approaches opportunities and constantly in motion, meaning his brain is always working and finding new opportunities. In a way, frankly, very respectful of the way that you constantly are looking at new things. But he said he describes you as intuitive. So I made a list of 4 executives that you know well, and I want to ask you if you could describe them with an adjective, starting with John Malone. How would you describe John?
Oh my God. I honestly, the only way I can describe John is deeply brilliant, and with such self-confidence based on that brilliance that he is a profound risk taker. And by the way, his thinking is contrarian, unique, et cetera, et cetera. But that's what I'd say about John.
Okay, next one. Brian Roberts.
Superb executive, grown, being given a role by your family is chancy, and odds aren't great. Brian, unique relationship with a unique man, his father, was given responsibility for the company at a very young age. He has exceeded anybody's expectations that they could possibly have. He has grown every year in every instance. It's that growth that Brian has had that is so very impressive.
Yeah, you've told me that before, that he's built an amazing company, which is true. Bob Iger.
Conceptually progressive to the point of being a giant risk taker in a world where almost no one takes, quote, real risks. The only other person in media, real, pure media, that is that level of risk taker was Rupert Murdoch. But when Bob Iger decided, and these are, two decisions he made that he backed completely. One was to buy already developed big time content that started with Pixar and went on with Marvel and Lucas, etc. At the time that he bought Pixar, I said, you've overspent. You already own half the stuff they make. Why are you spending, $7 billion to buy 50% of the trailing whatever? What a dumbass move that is, for which I was 100% wrong out of what he took from Pixar and built on it. But then, more importantly, buying Marvel and then Lucas and putting all those capital chips on the table on the belief that Disney had to create new content, big time content. Okay? That's a gutsy, chips on the table, literally, no limit, all in. Second decision, sometime later, says, I got to get control of the customer because the customer is now being controlled, Netflix, et cetera, outside my realm. And I got to do something. And he then put all his little big chips on the table and went for streaming. These two gigantic decisions, gigantic strategies, is the ultimate of a player who is not content with the status quo. Everybody else in the media business was, not him.
Yeah. Okay, last one is, and we've talked about him before, Jeff Bezos.
I don't know. Look, many of the ones you've mentioned, actually all of them, are my friends. Jeff is a close friend and has been for some years. You know, what to say about it? The only thing that I can do is say it wasn't hard for me to think 5 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that, that he was going to end up being the richest person in the world, which I think he will end up being for a very long period of time, notwithstanding Mr. Musk and other high flyers.
Yeah, you know what you told me about him? You told me that he constantly reinvents himself.
Well, it's, you know, look, it's all been written. His thing of day one, and everything is day one, and all these people, with the exception of, you know, a couple of them that you mentioned, or one of them actually, but all of these people understand risk in ways that most people understand it. Tolerate risk at a level that most humans would not. And Bezos is an ultimate, so to speak, example of that. At a time, this is now 20 years ago, when the internet had its big explosion in 2000, Amazon was on fumes. And he had invested huge amounts of money, and Amazon was losing, obviously, a lot of money building the infrastructure, et cetera. And here's what Bezos did as against what almost anybody else would have done. Anybody else would have sold equity, which he could have done. He said, no, I'm not selling any equity. I'm borrowing all of it. And that got him very close to going under. I mean, his bonds were, his debt was selling, or we were trying to buy it at 30 cents, 25 cents on the dollar, et cetera. He said, I won't sell equity. I'll pay back the money. And what a gutsy, I mean, you talk about a long-term gut decision. That was it. That's an example.